The scene opens in chaos, with a doctor yelling at the team to get the patient on a ventilator. After 20 years as an industrial mechanical designer, Jin Lishan struggles to breathe as his obsession with success has wrecked his mental health and he is about to die. His past is no different, as he was left alone when his parents died in a car accident shortly after his birth. He finished school and spent 20 years stuck in a low-paying job that barely covered his bills. His life has been nothing but solitude, and he's never even held someone's hand. The doctor was doing his job, but Lishan couldn't shake the feeling that his life didn't really matter. As exhaustion hit him, he slipped into a sleep he would never wake from. Lishan's last breath had barely left his body when his eyes snapped open again. But instead of a hospital ceiling, he found himself staring at an elegant room. Confused, he wondered if he had just been dying. Before he could process it, a message popped up saying, "Welcome to the magical continent of Eldora." He tried to move, but something felt off. When he looked into a mirror, he froze as he saw a completely different person staring back at him. A week passed in this weird world, and our boy began settling into life here, getting things served right at the table. He figured out that he'd died and been reincarnated as Rain Edgar, the third son of Duke Alan Edgar's family. He had an older sister who kept urging him to eat more because he was growing up, while his brother handed him a shiny vial and said it was magic water that would boost his magical powers. As the youngest and most pampered by his family, Rain was living the good life. But even with all the comforts, he couldn't help but wonder why he was so lucky. To ease his thoughts, he guessed it was a reward for his past hardships. Eldria was an amazing world powered by magic. The Caradorial Empire, the largest human nation on the continent, was a melting pot of races like elves and dwarves. The Edgar family ruled over a massive 300,000 square kilometers and over 1 million people living in their territory. As a noble, Rain had it all: fancy outfits and a personal maid. She came in to tell him his father wanted to see him. Aldarian Edgar is the lord of the land and Rain's father. Rains humbly pays his respect, and Aldarian awkwardly asks about inheriting some land and explained that it was typical for someone Rain's age, being to take charge of a territory. Ryan's father noted that he'll manage the Northwest Territory, which is mostly safe but faces food shortages due to a lack of mages. It's stable for now, but the Caradorial Empire's future is uncertain. Rain silently agreed, understanding that the royal family's crushing political system had caused a fractured empire. Lords were always scheming as their rivalries kept growing messier over time. Since his rebirth, Rain felt a rare care that made him protect those who mattered. Aldarian noticed his thoughts and worried that he was taking on too much responsibility, but he reassured her he wouldn't have to go at it alone. Out of nowhere, he asked his father if fixing the food supply problem would make their territory safer. Aldarian explained that solving that issue was about more than just passion, but Rain was drawing on all the knowledge humanity had gained through countless industrial revolutions. He declared that he'd handle the food crisis and make it a priority. To the north of Aisling City was the Grand Duke's land, while the west held the mysterious Elves' realms and to the south pushed endless territories. This prime location had turned it into a hotspot for battles over the years. As he rode in the carriage toward Aisling City, Ryan got lost in the papers about his new home. Ryan knew that to breathe new life into the territory, he needed to boost its population. One of his unique skills was granted by the Human Resource Scan system. This lets him easily spot talented people. After testing it on his family, he figured out the talent standards in this world. His top priority when he got to Aisling City was to find some extraordinary individuals. Leah remembered the Duke's orders supported Rain and tried to keep him from causing chaos in the region. The city where the Lord lived was buzzing with tension. A guy mentioned that the Duke's youngest son would be arriving soon and suggested they take some preemptive steps. But the masked man just brushed it off, telling them to wait for further instructions and to leave Ryan alone for now. The blonde guy worried about misstepping on financial records of stolen taxes, but the masked man just mocked Rain for being clueless. They only needed to hand over useless documents, so even though he wasn't thrilled, the blonde guy went to prepare since it was time to pay Aldarian as ordered. As Rain got closer, he looked out at the empty fields and abandoned farms. He asked Leah for a map and suddenly had an idea. Dredging the river and connecting it to the sea could bring life back to the land. Just then, a young girl grabbed onto her dad's leg and tried to stop him from heading to a gambling den. She pleaded with tears and asked him not to waste their last bit of money meant for her mom's treatment, but the guy, overwhelmed by his faith in luck, didn't listen. When she wouldn't let go, he angrily raised his hand to slap her. Just before he could hit her, Rain stepped in and knocked the dad to the ground. This was the first time he had ever hit someone, and his eyes burned with anger. Leah scolded him, saying she'd bring gear next time, but our boy shrugged it off. He told Leah to check on the girl while he dealt with the gambler. Rain scolded him for wasting family money on gambling, and even hitting his daughter. The gambler frowned and asked who Rain thought he was. Rain shot back that it didn't matter if he ever saw the guy near a gambling den again, would chop off his head. When he turned to girl, who looked totally stunned, he asked if she was okay and activated his system to check on her condition. The girl name is Lillian, and she thanked Rain for his help. As our boy looked closer at the system, one thing really stood out. She had a lot of potential in agriculture and harvesting. Rain smiled at the thought that she was probably heading to the city to find a doctor for her mom. Lillian seemed a bit hesitant, worried about dirtying his carriage. He reassured her that a carriage was just a bunch of wood put together. Besides, he had some questions for her. He wondered why there was a gambling den in such a run-down area. Rain recalled last fall when enemy soldiers attacked and floods wrecked the city. Aisling bore the scars with beggars everywhere and a heavy gloom. He needed a population count to see who could still work. First, he planned to check the city lord's funds. He asked Lillian for directions, but before she answered, someone yelled. A blonde guy on a horse came charging down the street, demanding everyone get out of his way. Leah quickly pulled Rain out of the way just in time to dodge the galloping horse, which made his heart race. With Leah holding onto him tightly, she apologized and checked to see if he was okay. Rain thanks her and asked Lillian if she recognized the rider, and she told him that it was the young master of the Edwin family. Rain thought that since the Edwins had money, it could be a good chance to get some funding for his plans. He asked Lillian to take him to one of the gambling dens, but she refused by saying he'd probably lose all his cash. Still, Rain felt pretty confident. As they made their way to the gambling den, he couldn't help but wonder just who this noble master really was. Inside the den was loud and chaotic. Gamblers begged for loans, hoping to win back losses, while some celebrated and others mourned. Rain realized that as long as this gambling den remained open, the people of Aisling City would never want to work hard. Leah spoke quietly that their soldiers had surrounded the gambling den and asked if they should move in. Rain told her to wait because he wanted to catch a bigger target. A staff member approached Rain and asked what game he wanted to play. Rain grinned as if he didn't know much about gambling and asked for an easy game. The attendant suggested dice and gave him 2 free chips. He tossed them onto the betting slot while the staff watched with smug looks. The dice rolled and the attendant sighed while saying he had almost won. Rain acted surprised at how fast the game ended, calling it boring before heading out. The attendant blocked his way, mocking him and demanding payment for the chips. Rain frowned, asking when he agreed to owe anything. The attendant laughed, calling them loans worth 100 gold each, plus fees totaling 250. Smirking, he suggested Rain leave his maid as collateral. Lillian called out the scam and said the chips were barely worth a silver coin. The attendant got mad that she exposed him and ordered the guards to take her down, but before he could finish, Rain knocked him out and told him he had no authority here. Gamblers rushed to grab the spilled chips while Rain figured none of them would be any help. Then a loud voice cut through the chaos demanding to know who was causing trouble. It was the guy Rain had seen on horseback earlier, and he grinned, knowing he finally had a big catch. The young master's arrival silenced the chaos instantly. He glared at the room with displeasure before ordering his guards to teach the troublemakers a lesson. Without hesitation, the guards began mercilessly beating those nearby and ignoring their cries for mercy. The remaining crowd watched in fear, too scared to intervene. The young master of the Edwin family mocked the onlookers, threatening them to behave or face the same luck. Lillian grabbed Leah's arm and whispered that it was her fault, and she felt guilty for leading them to the den. She was ashamed because she had put Rain and Leah in danger. She remembered how Rain took her mother to the hospital so she could get treatment, and he promised to pay for it. That memory filled her with determination, so she found her courage and stepped forward. She said that she would not let them trick her brother. Lillian's boldness drew everyone's attention, but most were too scared to respond. People whispered in the crowd, wondering who she was and how she dared to confront Weo, the young master of the Edwin family. Weo glared at her, angry about her challenge. Lillian stood firm, accusing him of using the casino to take advantage of families. She refused to let him bully Rain and Leah, calling them good people who did not deserve such treatment. Weo charged at her in anger. Lillian felt scared but stood her ground, protecting Rain with her small body. Just before Weo could hurt her, Rain grabbed his arm to stop him. Rain used his skill to check Weo's stats. He found that Weo had low attributes. Only 5 loyalty points and a cruel personality with a desire for violence. Rain identified the Edwin family as a possible threat, knowing they would betray him at any time. Weo blocked Rain's path and accused him of breaking the casino rules. Rain let go and replied that he understood the rules well. In this world, power decided everything, and the strong made the rules. Weo arrogantly believed he was the strongest in the city. He challenged Rain, asking why he dared to oppose him and if Rain even knew who he was. Rain kept his expression calm and confidently, said he didn't need to know. What mattered was his own strength, his fist was bigger, and his word was the law. He then clapped his hands to signal his soldiers to enter the casino. The scene shifted to a grand banquet in Rain's honor, attended by the city's greatest leader for planning. Among them was Lucas, head of a respected family. Lucas wanted to work with the city lord at the banquet to teach Rain a lesson. He planned to use Weo to connect with Rain, but was confused by Weo's absence. Frustrated, he realized he could not depend on the city lord alone and needed to change his plans. As the guests chatted, a loud voice announced Rain's arrival. The mood changed instantly to tense silence as Rain walked in. His presence drew everyone's attention, and the guests quickly altered their behavior. The head of the Raven family stepped forward, introduced himself, and gave Rain a gift. The head of the Jose family introduced his daughter, hoping to win favor. However, Rain's stern look silenced the room as he instructed everyone to quiet down. With everyone gathered, Rain announced it was time to kick things off. He signaled to his team to bring in a big blueprint that instantly grabbed everyone's attention. He pointed at it, explaining it was a design for a dam he had drawn up earlier that day. One person even asked what a dam was, joking if it was some kind of fishing gear. Rain quickly quieted the crowd and asked Leah to pull up a map of the area. Once things settled down, he started his presentation. He shared that during his visit to Aislinn City earlier, he had figured out what was causing the city's flooding every year, a poorly managed canal up north. By building a dam there, they could control the water flow, use it to irrigate crops when things got dry, and release extra water during the rainy season to stop floods. Lucas was listening closely and couldn't help but admire Rain's clever plan. He thought if the dam got built, it would really increase the city's food production. For the first time, he realized how sharp and inventive Rain really was. An older guy in the crowd asked how this project would benefit them, and Rain calmly explained that he needed their money to fund the dam's construction. This took everyone by surprise, leading to a bunch of complaints, with many saying they were too broke to help out. Lucas didn't say anything but thought that while Rain was smart, he was a bit naive to think these people would willingly invest. Smirking, he reminded them there was no need to pretend. He casually revealed that earlier that day, he had taken over a casino and snagged almost 50,000 gold coins. He hinted that there were plenty more casinos in Aislinn City, just waiting for a similar approach. The news shocked everyone at the meeting. They quickly considered what it meant for them. Some worried about losing their shares in the casino profits. Others hoped the seized casino was not one they had invested in. It became clear that the biggest casino in Aislinn City belonged to Lord Andrin, which meant Rain had likely angered a powerful foe. Lucas, hiding his anger behind a calm face, stepped up to confront Rain. He accused Rain of illegally shutting down a legitimate business without permission. Lucas stressed that the laws of the Caradorial Empire must be followed and warned Rain about the potential consequences. Others quickly supported Lucas, agreeing that Rain had gone too far. They pointed out that casinos are legitimate businesses. The crowd grew bolder, rallying around Lucas's concerns. Rain remained calm despite their protests. He spoke to the room, saying that they claimed to be broke when he asked for investments. Now that he offered a chance to make money, they suddenly cared. He noted that many of them were involved in the casino operations and warned that this was their last chance to save their reputations, or he would step in personally. Rain's soldiers moved forward, reminding everyone of his power. Lucas, representing the group, argued that the Grand Duke would never support Rain's risky actions. Others pleaded with Rain to rethink his approach and to be cautious. He then said he would happily discuss the law with them. 2 men were brought in, tied up and unable to speak. Rain stayed calm and asked Lucas if he recognized them. Lucas kept his face neutral and said he didn't know them, asking what Rain meant. Rain smiled slightly and told Lucas not to be so tense. He explained that it wasn't a big deal. These men had tried to assassinate him the day before. Looking at Lucas, Rain mentioned that the men claimed they controlled the city of Aislinn and hinted they had a powerful backer. Lucas's face darkened, but he tried to stay composed. Sweat formed on his brow as he tried to hide his unease. Rain told his soldiers to untie the 2 men. He suggested that they let the party guests see if anyone recognized them. The nobles in the room exchanged worried looks, many quickly realizing the men were Weo's attendants. Fear filled the room as Rain's words sank in. Lucas understood the seriousness of the situation and acted immediately. He grabbed a dagger from the table and lunged at the two men with a fury that shocked the onlookers. He denounced them as wretched commoners who dared to attack the Duke's son and swiftly killed them both. Blood pooled on the floor, and the room fell silent as the other nobles watched in stunned horror, too afraid to intervene. Standing over the bodies, Lucas turned to Rain and pretended to be ashamed. He apologized repeatedly, saying he acted out of anger after hearing about the assassination attempt. He asked Rain to forgive him. Rain, who expected this, smiled knowingly. He praised Lucas for his sense of justice and called him a noble who acted quickly. Lucas, feeling relieved, thanked Rain for the compliment by saying he only did what was needed. But Rain was not done. Calmly, he ordered his soldiers to bring out the mastermind. As he entered, Weo, completely unaware of the situation, shouted angrily at the soldiers to untie him. He boasted about his father's influence, threatening that everyone present would pay once he was free. Lucas's expression crumbled at the sight of his son. Any arrogance in his demeanor vanished as he realized why Weo had been absent from the banquet. Weo, seeing his two attendants lying lifeless on the floor, erupted with rage. He insulted Rain and he outburst with chuckled. He sarcastically noted that Weo not only wanted to kill him, but also seemed eager to impose. Weo continued his tirade, boasting that no one in Ison dared to oppose him and that Rain's death was inevitable. Rain turned to Lucas, asking if he agreed with his son's claims. Weo, still oblivious to Rain's identity just as Weo was about to reveal Lucas's identity, his father cut him off sharply. Lucas, now desperate, scolded Weo, calling him a disobedient son. He ordered Weo to kneel before Rain, but when his son hesitated, Lucas forced him down, falling to his knees alongside him. Lucas pleaded for Rain's mercy. He begged for forgiveness, offering all his possessions in exchange for sparing Weo's life. It was only then that Weo realized his mistake. He recalled his father's instructions to befriend the Duke's son, and fear crept into his eyes as he finally understood Rain's true identity. Stammering, Weo apologized and swore never to act so foolishly again. Rain's expression remained cold as he told Weo that his soldiers and authority were proof enough of his status. Lucas joined in, stating that the Edwin family would serve Rainey loyally and offered to give up all their illegal assets. Rain, unaffected, said he would accept the assets. He promised Lucas that his family would be safe if he complied. Lucas felt relieved and thanked him. However, when he looked at the city lord, he realized he had lost his power. With little choice, Lucas quietly told Rain about a plan against the Duke. He revealed that Lord Eldry had been working with outside enemies to betray the city. The room fell silent when the acknowledgement was made, and everyone looked at Eldry, who stood still with fear. Lucas was ready to explain more, but Rain interrupted him. He accused Lucas of speaking poorly about Eldry and said he had been patient long enough. Rain ordered his guards to take Lucas and Weo out of the room for execution. Lucas felt shocked and scared by Rain's sudden change in behavior. Eldry felt relieved by Rain's decision and stepped forward to show his loyalty. He praised Rain for being wise and promised to fully support him. Rain smiled and said he trusted Eldry completely. Rain secretly used his system to check Eldry's attributes. He found the trait of greed and saw that Eldry had a low loyalty level of only 15. Rain decided that Eldry, like Lucas, would be eliminated. For now, he would use Eldry's resources to help with his plans. After the banquet, Rain worked late into the night. The nobles had donated over 100,000 gold coins, which was equal to 2 years of taxes from the city of Ison. However, Rain was not satisfied with this amount. As he focused on his tasks, Leah came into the room with a cup of tea. She set it on the desk and saw that Rain looked unhappy. He took the tea and bitterly remarked about how wealthy the nobles were. Leah did not answer his question, but she asked what Rain would do about Lucas's revelation at the party. She worried that if the city lord Eldry meant to betray them, it would put Rain in danger. Rain told her to stay calm, and he acknowledged that he was sure Eldry would betray them. However, he explained that it was not the right time to confront him. When Leah asked why, Rain stood up and stretched. He explained that Eldry's full influence in Ison was still unclear. Acting too soon could cause unnecessary problems. For now, it was better for Eldry to see Rain as a young lord who didn't know about the dangers around him. The next morning, Eldry met with Guildmaster Malcolm at the Mags Guild. He handed Malcolm a piece of paper. After reading it, Malcolm looked angry. He slammed the paper down and called the situation ridiculous. Eldry stayed calm and urged him not to overreact. He dismissed Rain as just a young noble trying to impress the Grand Duke. Malcolm was not happy. He felt angry as he reminded Eldry that even the Grand Duke spoke respectfully to the Mags Guild. As Malcolm stormed off with the paper, vowing to get an explanation from Rein, Eldry celebrated quietly, sure that Rein would soon be alone. Meanwhile, Rein was busy studying and sketching plans for a hydraulic construction project. This work reminded him of the tough times he faced in his previous life. Leah came in to tell him that Malcolm had arrived and wanted to see him. Rein was surprised and quickly went to the parlor to meet Malcolm. As soon as Rein entered, Malcolm confronted him angrily. He slammed a recruitment notice on the table and accused Rein of insulting the Magers Guild. Confused, Rein asked for more details. Malcolm pointed to the notice, which stated that they would not hire mages, the disabled or the elderly for Rein's project. He demanded to know why Rein had put out such a notice. Rein looked at the paper and calmly explained that it was related to the dam construction project. He was surprised that mages were competing for manual labor jobs. Malcolm warned Rein that if he did not give a good explanation, all the mages in the guild would refuse to work for him. Rein frowned and called on his system to check Malcolm's stats. The system showed that Malcolm's loyalty level was 82, and his personality was inquisitive and straightforward. Rein figured that Malcolm had been manipulated, so he smiled and patiently shared his reasoning. He explained 3 main points. First, mages have limited mana, and they can only do a small amount of work each day, so they are not suitable for large construction projects. Second, their salaries are as high as those of 10 common laborers, which makes them too expensive. Third, he was a noble, so he understood the economic burden of hiring mages for such tasks. Rein believed it was his responsibility to help ordinary people, who didn't have support from the guild. Malcolm disagreed. He thought magic was respected in their world, and that those without magical ability should be pushed aside by mages. Rein felt frustrated by this view. He acknowledged that it might be true, but he insisted that he wanted to change it. He said that he would start in Iceland, and he would prove that mages were not better than humans. Malcolm felt insulted, so he gave Rein an ultimatum. Malcolm demanded that Rein take back his statement or face the Mages Guild's anger. Rein's expression grew cold as he reminded Malcolm to be careful with his tone. Leah stood close to Malcolm and pressed a knife against his throat. Her eyes showed a strong threat. Malcolm was terrified when Rein pointed out a law that allowed nobles mage to execute someone for disrespect. Rein suggested they could test this law by making a small cut to see how the court would respond. Malcolm trembled as he quickly apologized, admitting his mistake and begging for forgiveness. Rein saw that Malcolm's loyalty was still strong and realized the guildmaster had acted out of ignorance, not malice. To avoid making the situation worse, Rein told Leah to escort Malcolm out. Malcolm thanked Rein and left in a hurry. As he left, Rein received a notification that he had completed a beginner task. He had used the investigation function on 10 individuals. A reward was given, and a new task appeared: train 5 characters with high stats. Happy with his progress, Rein decided to check his rewards later. Eldry waited outside the estate for Malcolm. When he saw the guildmaster, he hurried over and pretended to be concerned. He asked how the meeting went. Malcolm was still embarrassed, so he sighed and said that Rein did not listen to him, and even kicked him out. Eldra, frustrated but quick to think, came up with a new plan. He told Malcolm that he had a solution that would make Rein change his mind and also make him respect the Mages Guild. After his first plan failed, Eldra quickly came up with a new idea. He urged Malcolm to convince the townspeople to stop working for Rein. Malcolm rejected this idea right away, noting that Rein had provided great working conditions that the townspeople would not likely turn down. Eldry proposed another strategy. He suggested that if those working for Rein appeared lazy and unproductive, Rein would eventually lose interest in the commoners. Malcolm rejected the suggestion. He explained that he was unhappy only because Rein would not hire mages, not because he had a problem with the commoners. He was hesitant to take action against Rein for this reason. Eldra kept pushing, asking Malcolm to think again. He argued that the commoners were lazy, which caused their hunger and suffering. If the land wouldn't grow crops, Eldra asked, why didn't they go out and hunt for food? He said people as idle as the commoners could never truly work hard for Rein. After some hesitation, Malcolm agreed to try the plan. Rein's recruitment notice was posted in the town center, quickly gathering a crowd. The townsfolk came to read the announcement. As they read the notice, they were shocked. The job offered an 8-hour workday, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., 3 meals a day and a wage of 10 coins per day. A young man in the crowd raised his doubts, asking why the new lord was being so generous. Others shared their concerns, thinking it might be a scam. Many remembered how nobles had deceived them before. Some argued that working under these terms could be dangerous and might even cost them their lives. At that moment, Lilan stepped forward, her voice strong and determined. Lilan defended Rein, saying he promised to improve everyone's lives. People laughed and mocked her, calling her naive for trusting a noble. Even Lylan's father joined in, saying she was under Rain's spell. Lylan ignored her father's remarks, and she did not pay attention to the crowd's laughter, as she said that she wanted to register for the dam project. The recruiter was a young man who was in charge of registration, and he stayed calm even though the crowd doubted her. He turned to Lylan's father and invited him to work on the dam, but said Leland could not participate. Lylan asked why she was excluded, insisting she was healthy and able. The recruiter explained that Rain had strict rules. No one under 18 could work, and hiring underage workers without Rain's approval would lead to serious consequences. He gave Leland's father a registration form and repeated the terms: 3 meals a day, an 8-hour workday, and a pay of 10 coins per day. If there were no more issues, he invited Lylan's father to sign the form and start work the next day. Lillian felt a bit disappointed, but she encouraged her father to do his best and not to be lazy. Her father smiled at her and patted her head, promising not to gamble again and not to let Rain down. He reminded Leyland to stay home the next day to take care of her mother, who couldn't do heavy work because she was sick. Before they left, the recruiter called them back. Leland's father, surprised, stopped and asked if there was a problem. The recruiter said he heard him mention that his wife was very ill. Lylan's father quickly explained that his wife couldn't work due to her illness. The recruiter smiled kindly and reassured him that he wasn't asking her to work. He told them that Rain had arranged for families of workers to stay in dormitories during the project. The dormitories were temporary housing for families involved in building the dam. Once the project was finished, families could return home. Lylan's father felt very moved by this kindness and fell to his knees. A young man quickly came forward to help him up and said there was no need for such gestures. The townsfolk who watched the exchange were surprised and realized that Rain's promises were real. They started to shout and rush to sign up for work, eager to seize the opportunity. Rain reviewed system updates. Suddenly a notification appeared. Congratulations! You have received the lithium battery blueprint from the newbie gift pack. Instead of feeling excited, Rain felt irritated. He muttered, questioning the system's logic. Without a generator, a battery was almost useless. Did the system expect him to call down a lightning strike? After expressing his frustration, he calmed down and began to think. Rain's thoughts turned to the task of training 5 individuals with high stats. He didn't know where to find such people. He considered training Leah, but when he checked her data in the system, he saw that she had already reached her potential and couldn't grow any further. After considering his options, Rain decided he needed to look for talented individuals in Azalin City. As Rain thought about his next steps, someone knocked on the door. Leah's voice came from the other side, saying that Lylan wanted to see him. Rain let her in. Lillian entered the room looking worried. She quickly explained that something was wrong at the construction site. The workers were too tired to work. Rain was surprised by this news and asked her to explain more. Lillian shared what she had seen during her visit to the site. She went to check on her father and noticed that the workers lacked the energy to finish their tasks. At first, Lylan thought the workers were lazy, but her father explained that everyone felt very tired when they woke up. It wasn't just him. All the workers felt the same way. Leland tried to encourage them, reminding them of the benefits Lord Rain had provided, but they didn't listen. The workers said their tiredness was not intentional. They really did not have the strength to work. Some thought their bodies needed time to get used to the labor after not working for so long. Others suggested taking a day off to rest before going back to work. Lillian did not agree with these excuses. She believed they were just being lazy. When she realized she could not motivate them, she decided to tell Rain about the problem. After hearing her story, Rain quickly went to the construction site. When he arrived, he saw the workers' fatigue firsthand. To understand better, Rain used his system abilities to check their stats. Everything seemed normal, but he noticed one important issue. All the workers were under a curse. Rain then told Lillian calmly that the workers were not sick, they were cursed. Rain realized the workers were cursed and looked over the construction site, thinking about what to do next. He decided to use his new skill, geological survey. He had planned to use this skill during the dam's construction, but now he needed it right away. With this ability, Rain could analyze geological features within a 10-kilometer radius. The system activated under Rain's command, and soon he received the results in his mind. The survey showed there were no valuable resources like oil or metals, but Rain noticed something strange. Trusting his instincts, he asked Lillian's father to help him dig at the marked spot. The man agreed quickly, eager to help Rain. After digging about a meter down, they found an unusual black stone. Rain senses a faint magical energy coming from the stone, something she hadn't noticed despite her experience. Rain told the group to carefully take out the crystal and put it in a secure box. He turned to Leah and asked how they usually dealt with cursed people. Leah, surprised by the question, explained that priests at a church or high-ranking mages from the Mage Association usually handle curses. Rain frowned, thinking there might be a link to the Mage Association. He then decided to take Lillian and her father to the local church for help. Lillian asked if her father was really cursed. Rain reassured her, promising to make the person responsible pay for it. They quickly went to the church, where a beautiful priestess greeted them. She welcomed Rain warmly and seemed calm and composed. Rain used his system to check her loyalty before trusting her. The system showed her stats a loyalty level of 95%. She was an elf, and she was about 257 years old, but looked no older than 24. Rain was surprised she wasn't human, but felt better because of her high loyalty. The priestess introduced herself as Ayuria and called herself the Holy Maiden of the Church. She politely asked why they had come. Rain explained that the man seemed to be cursed and asked Ayuria for help. Ayuria nodded and began to check the man. She closed her eyes briefly and then opened them with a golden glow. She scanned him closely and confirmed Rain's suspicion. Ayuria started the treatment by summoning a glowing sphere of light, which she directed into the man's body. This light expelled the dark energy quickly. The man felt better and thanked Rain, saying he would return to work right away. Rain smiled and told him to rest and make sure everything was fine before going back to work. Rain then took out the box with the black crystal and asked Ayuria what she thought about it. Ayuria looked at the crystal carefully. She said it was a magic crystal filled with a lot of magical energy. This energy is often used to cast curses. However, she explained that this curse was more of a prank that caused tiredness. Rain felt uneasy after hearing this. He asked Ayuria if these crystals were hard to make. She answered that a high-level mage could create one crystal a day easily. This meant they could easily spread them around the construction site. Rain's expression turned serious when he realized someone was purposely causing problems. Ayuria recognized Rain's project and praised it for helping reduce the number of people asking for help from the church. Now sure of who was behind the issues, Rain decided to take action. He asked Ayuria if it was possible to lift the curse over the construction site. Ayuria sadly told him that it couldn't be done. Removing individual crystals each day would only slow down the project. Understanding that he needed to tackle the main issue, Rain asked Ayuria if she knew someone who could help. She mentioned someone who might assist but warned that this person was eccentric. She gave Rain an address and he decided to check it out. Rain and Leah arrived at a large mansion of Selena, the former president of the Mage Association. Rain knocked on the door with determination. Suddenly, Leah sensed danger and quickly pulled Rain aside. Moments later, an explosion went off from the upper floor of the mansion. Rain demanded to know what was happening. A beautiful woman came out of the smoke, her voice full of frustration. She cursed her failed experiment. After Rain entered the house, he calmly asked Selena for help. He explained his problem, but she refused him quickly and said she was too busy researching a new magical device. Ryan asked if it was something like a magic wand. Selena laughed at him, making fun of his limited knowledge. Leah stepped in and told Selena to be careful with her words when talking to young master. Ryan? Selena looked at Leah and commented on her strong magical power. With a smile, she suggested that Leah could stay and help her in exchange for helping Rain. Sparks of lightning appeared around Selena as she showed her power, but Leah stood her ground and got ready to fight back. In a sharp tone, she said she would teach Selena some manners. Rain sensed the growing tension and stepped between Leah and Selena, urging Leah to calm down. He reminded her they were there for help. Looking at Selena's messy workspace, Ryan asked if she made the items on the table. He wanted to know if they were magical devices. She explained that everything on the table was a failed project. She was trying to create a device to store the lightning magic inside her body. Ryan was amazed, comparing it to storing electrical energy. Selena agreed and mentioned that the explosion earlier happened because her devices couldn't handle her power. Rain paused, then made an offer. He said if he could help her create the device she wanted, she would need to help him with issues related to the Mages Guild. Selena said her research was too complicated for him. Rain stayed calm and assured her he was serious. Rain promised to help Selena create a magical device if she supported him in return. Selena agreed, but set a condition if Rain succeeded. She would deal with Malcolm and make sure the Mages Guild followed his orders. If he failed, she would punish him. Rain quickly asked Selena to gather the materials needed. Using the blueprint from the system, he guided her in putting together a lithium battery pack made up of 8 large batteries connected. As they worked, Rain felt nervous because they didn't have a reliable power source to test the device. A hydraulic generator wasn't available. They had to rely on Selena's magic instead. Following Rain's instructions, Selena assembled the parts but was skeptical. She warned him that most materials couldn't withstand her magical power and that the device might explode. Despite her concerns, Rain gave her the wires and reassured her. He explained that the battery pack had a capacity of about 185 watt-hours and urged her to channel her energy into it. Reluctantly, Selena started to use her magic. To her surprise, the device absorbed her energy without any problems. Selena increased the device's output, but the battery stayed stable. She was shocked to find out why it hadn't exploded. She smirked and teased Rain, saying his magical power wasn't as impressive as he thought. Selena used all her strength. Even at maximum output, the battery showed no damage. Selena was amazed at how much power the device could hold and how easily Rain had built it. Rain stepped forward to check the battery level. It was at 87%. He was impressed with Selena's strength. She had almost charged the entire pack, enough to power an electric car for over 3,000 km, Rain told Selena about his plans to change the Mages Guild. He called them potential power banks and shared his vision of their magical abilities. Intrigued, Selena asked if Rain could use lightning magic himself. Rain didn't deny it. Instead, he claimed he could make everyone in Aisland City able to use magic. Selena was doubtful, pointing out that not everyone could learn magic. Rain stayed calm and hinted he had a magical device even stronger than the battery pack. He promised to show her a world where everyone could access magic if she agreed to help him. Baffled and curious, Selena couldn't imagine such a thing, but decided to keep working with him. The next day at the Mages Guild, Malcolm was reading a book, sure that Rain would soon ask for his help. His peaceful moment ended when Selena suddenly arrived. When he saw her, Malcolm was shocked. The former president of the Mages Guild was the last person he expected to see. He stammered as he greeted her, wondering why she had come. Selena confronted Malcolm, angry that he had challenged the Grand Duke's household. She sharply questioned whether he planned a rebellion. Malcolm denied any such intentions. He assured Selena he would never think about anything so dangerous. Selena grabbed him by the collar, her patience running out. She demanded to know the truth and insisted he confess what he did at Rain's construction site. Malcolm quickly admitted that he had called all the mages from the guild and stirred them up by saying that young Master Rain had disrespected them. He confessed to telling the mages to create curse-infused crystals and to use teleportation magic to bury them underground at the construction site. His plan was to make the workers feel tired, hoping Rain would blame them for being lazy. Malcolm wanted Rain to apologize and work more closely with the Mages Guild. Selena listened with disbelief and frustration. She called Malcolm a fool and said he had been manipulated. When Malcolm asked who had used him, she ignored and ordered him to bring back every mage involved in the sabotage right away. Malcolm nodded quickly and rushed off to follow her order. After Malcolm left, Selena used a talisman to contact Rain. She told him she had settled the issue with the Mages Guild. Rain thanked her for her help. Selena then asked if he needed her help with Eldry and offered to make him vanish. Rain quickly said no, explaining that Eldry wasn't a big concern. He needed Eldry to draw out a bigger threat. Selena accepted Rain's choice and agreed not to get involved. She then excitedly asked about the new inventions Rain had mentioned before. She wanted to know when they would be ready and asked him to call her when he started working on them. Rain promised to keep her updated, but reminded her that the guild's mages needed to finish charging the battery clusters first. The next day, Eldry met with a mysterious man covered in shadows at the city lord's residence. Eldry looked worried as he informed the man that Rain had already taken control of the Mages Guild. He asked for advice. The mysterious man stayed calm and dismissed. Eldry saying the Mages Guild wasn't a real threat, except for Selena. He told Eldry to focus on Rain's dam project and warned that if the dam succeeded, it could help the people of Iceland, which they could not allow. Eldry told the man that he had already set traps for Rain and shared another plan. He wanted to pressure the wealthy leaders controlling food supplies to raise prices. This would hurt Rain's efforts. When the mysterious man questioned the noble's loyalty, Eldry explained that while the nobles might betray him, they would not betray their own financial interests. With a smirk, Eldry flicked a gold coin into the air and said that Rain's money wouldn't last until the dam was finished. As the coin landed on the table, the mysterious man disappeared. Meanwhile, Lillian was buying supplies for the construction site. When a shopkeeper rudely told her to leave, Lillian pointed out the ridiculous price hike. Just the day before, 2 bags of grain cost 1 gold coin, but now 1 bag costs 2 gold coins. The arrogant shopkeeper claimed he could set whatever prices he wanted. He made fun of her for not being able to pay and raised his hand as if he would hit her. Lillian, determined to complete her task for Rain, accused the merchants of taking advantage of people and warned them about Rain's possible anger. The shopkeeper scoffed at her threat, claiming his business was fair and that Rain had no reason to interfere. His arrogance only added to the frustration of the crowd. At the church, Ayuria was also upset about the extreme price increases. She observed that food prices had tripled in just 3 days, leaving her with too little grain to feed the people through winter. She gave a pouch of coins to Ilaria and told her to buy whatever supplies she could, promising to figure out the rest later. Ilaria hesitated, surprised by the large amount of money, and pointed out that bribing guards usually needed much less. Ayuria sighed and urged Ilaria to follow her orders without question. Before Ilaria could move, Leah appeared suddenly, took the pouch with quick speed, and handed it to Rain with a calm but firm look. Rain suggested they work together. She asked what kind of cooperation he meant. Rain smiled at her and encouraged her to relax about the discussion. Ayuria was worried that Rain had figured out her real identity. She stayed calm and denied it, saying an elf couldn't possibly live in a human city. Rain shrugged this off, tossed a pouch of coins to Ayuria, and assured her he meant no harm to her or her kind. Ayuria, changing the subject, and asked what kind of cooperation he was proposing. Rain pointed to some sacks and explained that he wanted to solve the food problem in the city. Despite respecting Rain's determination, Ayuria doubted his ability to tackle such a deep-rooted issue. She shared her concerns that 4 powerful families controlled food supplies in Iceland for over a century. They tightly managed prices and their hold on power was strong. Rain then asked how she knew so much about the city's operations. Ayuria replied that she had lived in Iceland for over 120 years and understood its complexities well. She suggested that if Rain had dealt with the Eldian family at the banquet, there might have been a chance for change, but now it was too late. Ayuria added that due to war and natural disasters, food was already hard to find. If prices stayed high, her tribe would struggle to survive the winter. He promised Ayuria that food prices in Iceland would drop within 2 weeks. At Augustus Ken's mansion, the head of the Klein family, a celebratory gathering took place, and Augustus thanked the lords for their support because their alliance had brought them significant profits. Others in the room echoed their gratitude and raised their glasses to toast. The atmosphere was lively as the group enjoyed their recent gains. Suddenly, a servant announced that Rain had invited them to his mansion. One man nervously wondered if Rain was planning to punish them. He turned to Augustus what to do. He calmed them that they had nothing to worry about. He explained that their food supply trade was legal. Augustus stressed that as long as they did not openly oppose Rain, they would be safe. He pointed out that the combined strength was strong, and even the king could not interfere with food pricing. The group felt secure. Then Augustus suggested that if Rain tried to pressure them, they could make a small gesture by lowering prices by 5 copper coins. He warned them that any betrayal would lead to serious consequences, although they were surprised by his insistence on wearing old, tattered clothes. A servant told Rain that Augustus and the guests had arrived. Rain told the servant to let them in and asked the kitchen to prepare the food. Rain noticed they were trying to look poor. Rain greeted them with false surprise, commenting on how strange it was to see the noblemen who controlled Eldian's food looking so needy. Augustus quickly praised Rain's projects and said they wanted to help too. Another man added that under Augustus's leadership, they had donated money to Rain's initiatives and sold food from their warehouses at very low prices. Leah watched them and wasn't surprised by their lies and attempts to trick Rain. Rain accepted politely, thanking them for their support and saying he was deeply moved. He said he invited them to talk about the grain trade plan. Before Rain could continue, Augustus interrupted. He said they understood Rain's financial problems and claimed they were already selling food at a loss of 2 gold coins per sack. The others agreed with him. Rain smiled and clarified that he wanted to raise the price of food in Iceland to 4 gold coins per sack starting the next day. This left the nobles confused. Augustus questioned Rain about really wanting to increase prices. He asked what if the price of grain increased to 4 gold coins per sack with a 30% commission going to him. Augustus seemed confused. Augustus wonders if he misunderstood Rain. Rain does not repeat himself, but calmly reminds Augustus about the 30% commission he will take. Hearing this, Augustus and the nobles exchange pleased looks. They initially think Rain is just a young lord with no experience, but now they see him as a clever businessman. They believe that with his support, their businesses will succeed. Though excited by Rain's statement, Augustus knows they need proper documentation before acting. He worries that raising prices too high could lead to problems and hurt their interests. So Augustus politely expresses his view and cheerfully announces that he has already written and stamped the official notice with his family seal. It will be posted after their meal. As the conversation continues, Rain reminds the nobles that they will need to follow his instructions from now on. He urges them to learn from the Eldarian family's mistakes. Augustus quickly assures him that they will not let him down. After the banquet, the nobles gather again at Augustus's residence. Rain's actions leave everyone confused. They discuss whether to inform Eldari about this change, pointing out that it is odd for Rain to raise prices instead of lowering them. Some think he is just being greedy. However, Augustus dismisses their concerns, calling it a great opportunity. He reminds them that if too many people discover their plan, their profits will decrease. He assures them that Rain is just a child trying to draw them in and get them to keep the price increase a secret. A big profit is within reach, and it would be foolish to let it go. Despite Augustus's confidence, one noble voices his worries. He admits he has never seen such a profitable opportunity in all his years. Nonetheless, he promises to follow Augustus's lead, bowing deeply in loyalty. The others quickly do the same, vowing their support. Pleased with their loyalty, Augustus laughs and declares they will act as one group from now on. He suggests they buy all the grain from smaller merchants right away before the announcement is made to control the market and maximize their profits. At Rain's estate, an unexpected guest arrives. Elaria bursts in, very angry. She accuses Rain of supporting corrupt merchants. She demands to know why he promised to lower grain prices but let them rise instead. Lillian steps in quickly to calm her down. She tells Ilaria that Rain truly wants to reduce food prices and asks her to trust him. Ilaria, still upset, shoots back, saying Rain has already become one of the greedy merchants. Lillian keeps her faith in Rain and pleads with Elaria to believe in his plan. After a tense pause, Elaria turns to Rain with concern. She asks if he really plans to raise food prices. Rain smiles but does not share all his plans. He reassures her that food prices will drop soon. He promises that in the worst case, they will reach their lowest point in 2 weeks. Elaria, not convinced, thinks Rain is being naive. She believes he does not understand the harsh realities of life. In her 200 years, she has never seen food prices drop after a big increase. Rain, sensing her doubt, becomes serious. Rain asks a pointed question. If he threatens the nobles, how much will they lower the price? 1 coin? 10 coins? Ilaria does not have an answer but feels doubtful. She says raising the price to 4 gold coins per sack is too much, especially since the common people already struggle to afford food at 2 gold coins. If the price doubles, people might face starvation. Rain stays calm and explains that whether the price is 2 or 4 gold coins, people will starve regardless. The timing will just change. He insists lowering the price by a few coins will not help. His goal is not generosity, but the destruction of the merchants and the seizure of their wealth. 7 days pass as Rain teaches Selena about lithium batteries. Selena listens attentively. Their lesson is interrupted when Leah rushes in to say that Saintess Ilaria has come to visit again. Ilaria has been visiting often, and Rain wonders if she has too much free time. Selena, curious, asks why Rain raised food prices. Grain prices in the city have now reached nearly 7 gold coins per sack. Rain is surprised by the rapid increase and does not have a chance to respond before Ilaria enters. She immediately chastises him, saying that not only the common people but even some nobles can no longer afford food. She asks if he understands how serious the situation has become. Rain stays calm and asks Leah how many days have passed since the price increase. Leah quickly says it has been 7 days. Rain smiles and says it is time to talk to the merchants. Ilaria, still frustrated, tells Rain to stop being vague and explain himself. She warns him that if he does not, the elf tribe will cut ties with him. Rain finally explains that he has not shared his whole plan before because he worried it might cause problems and make the nobles suspicious. Now that everything is in place, he is ready to explain. Rain states that the minimum price announcement has been in effect for 7 days. He then asks Ilaria what Aisling City needs the most right now. After a moment, she says there does not seem to be a shortage of anything. Rain smiles at her answer and says the city lacks merchants who sell grain. Elria paused thoughtfully while Rain noted that food prices in Island City had skyrocketed to 4 gold coins per sack. This news quickly attracted nearby merchants eager to profit, flooding the city with supplies for the noble houses, further fueling greed. As a result, Island City would become the most food-rich area in the empire. But the presence of the 4 major noble houses was threatened. Rain handed Leah a notice to post around the city declaring, Lady Elria, the holy maiden of the church, opposed his methods and would sell the church's food supplies for just 1 gold coin per sack. Elria questioned Rain's intentions and why he would giving her reputation when he had no food to sell. Rain admitted he didn't, while Elria pointed out her supply concerns for the winter, to which Rain agreed. Elria was anxious about risking the elves' survival, while Selena called her naive, suggesting quick sales to avoid losses. Elria insisted that the elves only needed food, not money. Rain reassured Elria promising future supplies, and asked Selena for help from the Magis Guild to seal the city, which she agreed to eagerly. Rain's demeanor turned cold as he prepared the merchants for the consequences. After Elria and Selena left, Leah expressed her worries about potential delays from the merchants. Rain explained his strategy that hidden plans can be revealed, but open plans cannot be avoided. Merchants motivated by greed would rush to sell their stock if they heard about falling food prices, making it risky to wait too long. At the Augustus estate, nobles panicked when they learned the church was selling food reserves for just 1 gold coin per sack while they had paid 2 gold coins. Lord Augustus remained calm, reminding them that the church couldn't feed all of the island for long. He instructed his men to buy as much food as possible before it ran out. The next day, a large crowd gathered outside the church. Elria assured them there was enough food for everyone, explaining that the Pope had sent 100,000 sacks of grain as the first shipment, and that more would arrive soon. Some citizens questioned her honesty, causing unrest as they rushed for food. Just then, soldiers arrived to calm the crowd. One confirmed to Elria that the food was from the Holy Pope, and that more shipments were coming. Elria felt uneasy about the potential fallout. If the Pope learned of the announcement's inaccuracy, she wished Rain would stop complicating the situation. At the same time, they celebrated their supposed good fortune. Meanwhile, merchants were frustrated. One merchant lamented the church's actions, realizing he had bought grain at 60 silver coins per sack and after expenses would only make a 10 silver coin profit, selling it at 95 silver coins each. In a panic, he announced his grain for sale at that price. The people rushed to buy grain as prices dropped sharply, prompting other merchants to join the price war. Leah, excited by the unfolding events, confidently predicted prices would fall to 50 silver coins per sack. However, Rain smiled and suggested she was underestimating the situation, expecting that grain would become the cheapest item on the island. Once Augustus and his allies began selling their stock, Leah was questioning whether the noble houses would undermine one another after having bought grain for 2 gold coins per sack and appearing united at the recent banquet. Rain dismissed the idea, stating that personal gain were their judgment. At Augustus's mansion, a butler reported strange activities from outside merchants, who were significantly dropping prices. One alarmed nobleman claimed that all the grain belonged to them, but the butler assured him it was true. Augustus realized Rain's plan aimed at ruining his family. He explained to the other nobles how Rain's rumors about rising prices led greedy merchants to send grain to the island. Roland becomes anxious as he recognizes young Master Rain's clever tactics. Augustus remained calm and proposed a plan. Since their grain supply was low, they should hold off on selling until shortages caused prices to rise. He emphasized that unity was crucial. If even one noble sold early, they would all suffer. Roland agreed and secretly decided to sell his grain immediately to outpace the others. As he left, the suspicions grew among the other nobles, prompting 2 more to quickly excuse themselves and follow suit. After Augustus's butler suggested guarding the grain rather than selling it, Augustus furiously kicked him, realizing that delaying sales would lead to losses. He ordered his team to sell all stored grain immediately. Meanwhile, Rain met St. Elria at the church and discussed the grain supply for her people. Elria was confused about the growing supply and Rain explained they were profiting by buying low and selling high. Lillian then rushed in with news that grain prices had dropped, and Rain pointed out that they could buy more if they acted quickly. Ryan suggested they negotiate various supplies with the Elven tribe, but Elria said she needed to consult their queen. He agreed and asked her to set up a meeting, handing her a letter. After handling the grain crisis, Ryan felt confident that he could maintain control over the nobles and the Mage Guild. He thinks Lord Eldrick still have 2 cards, Army and Texas, therefore he needed to find a way to influence the military. Just as Leah approached to help him relax, a man burst into the church, angry that soldiers had robbed him. Eric stepped in to calm him, but the man wanted answers. Rain introduced himself as someone interested in business and asked for details about the incident. Rain, Leah, and Lillian disguised themselves as merchants and left the city. At the city gate, a guard stopped them, questioning. Lillian, claiming to trade goods with the Elven tribe, was met with suspicion. The soldiers began searching. Lillian protested, but one soldier reported nothing suspicious. The commanding officer insisted they pay a toll despite the destruction. Lillian argued, but ultimately handed over 5 silver coins after Rain urged her to comply. The guard, smirking, confirmed the increased toll under Lord Rain's decree. Leah angrily protested the unfair charge, but they were forced to pay. Rhine, now as an ordinary person, criticized Lord Rhine for the toll as they passed, but a fellow merchant defended him, praising his support for the island. Rain laughed, noting that the guard had ordered the toll increase while merchants blamed the soldiers. The merchant explained that Rain was new to the island and praised Lord Rain for lowering grain prices despite the losses for merchants. He expressed that he would willingly lay down his life for Rain. Rain mentioned the Grand Lord's youngest son, who had reportedly killed someone at a banquet. The merchant quickly linked this to the Elwyn family, saying they deserved what happened to them and warned Rain to be careful discussing them. He revealed that while many thought the Elwyns made their fortune from gambling, do you know they were actually involved in human trafficking? Angry at this revelation, Rain recognized the need to gain control of the border troops to prevent further chaos. Lillian questioned why they had to pay another toll outside the cart, asserting they had already paid one to leave the island. The guard clarified that the tolls differed, and Lillian accused him of lying. When told the toll was 1 gold coin, she yelled that they were being robbed. Rain remained calm and told her to pay, and she reluctantly complied. The guard then demanded everyone exit the cart for inspection. Rain and Leah exited the cart. Rain shot a sharp look at the guard when he asked about Rain. The soldier mocked the merchant Trist for returning, prompting Rain to ask if they knew each other. Trist admitted that the soldiers were robbers from the nearby mountains. They had teamed up with the Elwyn family to kidnap people and bring them into the city. The soldier sneered at Trist, recalling how the last time he left the city, Trist hadn't paid enough in tolls, which got him in trouble. He demanded Trist make up the difference and hit him in the face. The old man didn't fight back. Trist angrily claimed he had paid the full amount last time with no coins missing. The soldier pointed his weapon and said that paying once did not mean he didn't owe anything now. He said that they might have settled for a couple of gold coins if it wasn't Trist in the carriage, but knowing his face, he had to pay 5 gold coins to leave. Rain noticed that the tolls were high even though the island had a low financial income, and he found it suspicious. A soldier looked at him with disdain and made a crude comment about Leah's beauty. Trist offered to pay the 5 gold coins and asked the soldiers not to cause trouble for his partners. The soldier took the pouch with a smug grin and tossed it to another soldier. Before reaching out to Leah in a familiar way, Rain intervened before the soldier could touch her, realizing there was no hope for him as free labor. Enraged, the soldier thrust his spear at Rain, but Leah intervened and swiftly killed him before it could land. The other soldiers, terrified, began backing away. Rain, his expression cold, ordered Leah to kill anyone who resisted and stated that their guards would take over the post afterward. Panic spread among the soldiers as they dropped their weapons and tried to run away, shouting for help and saying someone was killing people. However, they didn't get far before Leah, moving very fast, caught up and killed a group of them instantly. Rain looked at the system, information panel, and thought about how weak these soldiers were. Their stats were very low. At that moment, Rain remembered his father's warning from before he left. His father had told him to be careful and avoid conflicts with the Ditch Kingdom beyond the island. Rain felt lucky to find such a big problem. He realized that if a conflict with the Empire started, he would be the one to face the consequences. Leah held her dagger and walked toward the remaining soldiers. Before she could act, a loud voice shouted, asking who was causing trouble at the island's border. The soldiers saw the man who had arrived and felt relieved. They recognized him as General Caesar and shouted for his help. The El Real frowned at Rain and accused him of causing trouble at the border. Rain used his skills to check the man's stats and was surprised to see all his attributes above 70. However, the man's loyalty was only 12. Leah, furious, accused Caesar of wanting to rebel against the Empire. The worried soldiers urged him not to act rashly, fearing for their families. Caesar remained resolute, reminding them they had already blackmailed the Grand Duke's son and broken the law. He noted their uncertainty, recalling Rain's past in Island City, where he ruined the Elwyn family and bankrupted 4 noble houses. Caesar pointed out that if they surrendered Rain to the Orvis Empire, they could live as minor nobles with the wealth they had amassed. He then offered Rain a choice between life and death, insisting it was his decision. The soldiers looked at each other, unsure what to do. Caesar's words seemed to sway them, and Leah grew worried seeing them support him. They quickly made a decision. The soldiers turned against Rain. Caesar, pleased with their choice, mocked Rain and asked if he had any last words before he died. Rain remained calm despite the threat, expressing disappointment but offering to spare Caesar if he changed his ways. Before he could continue speaking, Caesar ordered the soldiers to charge forward and kill him. The soldiers advanced, weapons ready. Angry about the betrayal, Leah ripped her dress for better movement and charged at them, knocking one down with a single strike. She skillfully dodged a spear, attack, and quickly eliminated the threat with her dagger. Spotting a soldier running at Rain, who remained calm, Leah threw her knife and took him down before he could reach her friend. Rain confronted Caesar seriously, giving him a final chance to end the chaos. Ignoring the warning, Caesar angeredly offered 1,000 gold coins to anyone who would kill Rain. The soldiers, lured by the reward, charged at Leah. One aimed to take her down, but she struck back with a powerful kick. She skillfully fought them off despite being outnumbered, using a spinning kick to send several crashing to the ground. Caesar ordered the mage to eliminate Leah, who demonstrated exceptional combat skills. The mage cast an energy spell that unleashed 3 ice arrows. Leah shattered the arrows with her kicks, but the ice froze the ground, trapping her. Caesar then commanded his men to kill Rain, seizing the moment Leah couldn't move. Rain quickly threw a hammer at Leah and told her to jump into the air. He held a wire connected to an electrical device in one hand. Leah saw his plan, broke the ice around her feet with the hammer, and jumped. The frozen ground conducted electricity perfectly. As the wire touched the ground, a surge spread across the battlefield, paralyzing the charging soldiers, who screamed before collapsing. Standing on broken ceramic shards for insulation, Rain grinned at the device's success. The remaining soldiers froze in terror, unsure of what had just happened. Some whispered, speculating it might be lightning magic. Rain smirked, thinking that if he had a camellia, he would record this as a safety training video on electricity for his workers. Caesar's fear turned to rage as he ordered the remaining soldiers forward. When one soldier hesitated, warning that Rain was using forbidden magic that could kill instantly, Caesar swiftly killed him, accusing him of undermining morale. Caesar glared at the remaining soldiers, demanding they charge, doubtful Rain could defeat them alone. Despite his threats, the soldiers trembled in fear. Leah, worried, questioned why Rain's spell hadn't affected them. Rain soon realized his device's battery was dead, and he only had one spare for the experiment. Leah urged him to leave, but Rain smiled, confident that Caesar's scheme would end that day. Caesar ordered his men to chase after Rain, believing his magic had faded. However, a sudden pillar of light descended, paralyzing the soldiers with fear. As Caesar looked up in confusion, Selena appeared, leaving him stunned and questioning why a Mage Association member had come at such a critical moment for Rain. Selena smiled at Rain as she noticed that she had arrived just in time because his battery had run out. She was intrigued by his reliance on batteries and promised to learn more about it after they captured Caesar and his accomplices. She understood his intent and turned to the mages as she commanded them to assist Rain in eliminating the rebels. The mages released intermediate-level lightning magic, causing thunderbolts to rain down on the battlefield. The rebels cried out in anguish as their ranks were devastated. Terrified survivors dropped their weapons and fled, begging for mercy and swearing never to repeat their mistakes. Amidst the chaos, Caesar's eyes were bloodshot with hatred, and he vowed that he would drag Rain to hell with him, even if it cost him his own life. He charged directly at Rain and skillfully dodged attacks from the surrounding mages. Just as Caesar thought his strike had landed, Leia appeared with a small dagger, effortlessly blocking his blow. The ground shattered beneath her, yet she stood firm. Realizing he had underestimated her too late, Caesar was caught off guard as Leia closed in and delivered a powerful kick. Caesar was thrown across the battlefield, crashing into a fence and losing consciousness. Leia looked at his motionless body with cold indifference. An hour later, he awoke to find Rain reading the confiscated documents, shadows flickering over his sharp expression. Without glancing up, Ryan acknowledged Caesar's awakening. Ryan accused Caesar of embezzling wealth as a border official and immediately questioned when he began working with Eldry. Caesar was shocked and asked how he knew. Rain smirked and said, noting that Eldry's betrayal was no surprise, but he had been waiting for the right moment, and thanks to him it had finally come. Regaining some composure, Caesar scoffed at the notion that evidence of corruption could topple Lord Eldry. Rain clarified that he wasn't using the records as a threat. He needed them to assess the island's annual trade tax revenue for his rebuilding plans. Caesar laughed derisively, deeming the idea of reconstruction foolish and asserting that Eldry's influence over the nobles would stymie Rain's efforts. Rain smiled faintly and prepared to reveal something to Caesar. Ryan's chilling words revealed his intent to purge the city's nobility. With a cold demeanor, he offered them two choices: follow Caesar to their deaths or obey him and work diligently. He asked what they would likely choose before declaring the interrogation over. Ryan stood before the crumbling city wall, considering the upcoming autumn. He knew Grand Duke Soran would soon mobilize his troops, making urgent repairs to the walls essential to withstand a possible attack. To the west lay the elven territory of the Saintis, where successful negotiations could stop conflict. His second sister's domain was to the east, not an immediate threat. The greatest danger, however, was the northern territory under Grand Duke Soran's control. As Rain considered the situation, Leah handed him a report revealing 350,000 gold coins had been embezzled. He nodded, ordered the guards to secure the city, and instructed that each soldier be given 100 gold coins, with the rest sent back to the island. As Selena prepared to return to the city, Rain thanked her and the Mage Association for their help. Curious about how he used the battery without magic, she asked for an explanation. Rain promised to share the details of their journey. Selena hurried him into the carriage for their return. As they were about to leave, Malcolm hurried over, visibly distressed. He urgently informed Selena and Rain that Lord Eldry had betrayed them and taken control of the island. Selena, slightly frowning but composed, reassured him and urged him to explain quickly. Selena was shocked by the news, while Rain smiled, noting that Eldry could no longer hold back. Selena asked Rain how he would suppress the rebellion with all the mages outside the city. Rain urged her to stay calm, explaining that Eldry's betrayal had already sealed his fate. Rain returned to the city with his soldiers and found the city gates tightly locked. Rain confidently approached Eldry, asking if he had finally been cornered. Eldry sneered at Rain's arrival, pretending to be curious about his visit to the island. Rain asked why Eldry had betrayed his father. This question enraged Eldry, who raged about how he and Rain's father had faced numerous dangers together to build the empire. When Rain's father became Grand Duke, he exiled Eldry and his family to a barren wasteland instead of rewarding his loyalty. Despite Eldry's pleas to transfer to a better region, all requests were denied. Blaming Rain's father for his suffering, Eldry told Rain to blame his father for being heartless and ungrateful. As he spoke, figures emerged behind him, warriors once loyal to Rain's father. They had risked their lives for the empire, only to be forgotten. Eldry confidently declared they were not rebels, but men reclaiming what was rightfully theirs. Hearing Eldry's excuse, Rain felt disappointed as he recognized it as a petty power struggle, so he offered the city's inhabitants a choice to either leave and surrender or face his wrath. He warned them that they had 3 days before he would break down the walls of the island without mercy, and his gaze turned ice cold. The nobles laughed at Rain's threat, mocking his claim that he could break the heavily fortified walls in 3 days. They dismissed his words as empty boasting, and Eldry, joining in, questioned whether Rain had lost his mind from fear, smirking and believing his confidence was just foolish arrogance. Eldry challenged Rain, but he was intrigued and responded with confidence as he asked about the bet's terms. Eldry stood on the city walls and claimed that if Rain broke the island in 3 days, he would surrender fully. When Rain asked what would happen if he failed, Eldry laughed and said that Rain would have to submit to him and accept his punishment. He then goaded Rain and questioned if he dared to take the bet. Selena urged Rain not to be swayed by Eldry's provocations and emphasized that they had time for a proper siege. Leah supported her and informed him that news of Eldry's rebellion had been sent to the Grand Duke and reinforcements were on the way, so there was no need for a reckless gamble. Eldry mocked Rain from the city walls as he questioned his silence and accused him of fear. A fellow noble joined him and sneered that Rain, who had boasted he would take the city in 3 days, was now a cowardly turtle. They urged him to accept their bet if he had any backbone. Rain agreed to their request as he warned them to keep their word later. He left while Eldry was filled with confidence and promised that everyone would witness the bet. He revealed that news of Rain's rebellion had reached the Empire's army, which would arrive in 10 days, and he mocked Rain about being captured alive. Setting up camp outside the city, Rain's troops felt the tension rise. Inside the command tent, Selena expressed her anxiety, highlighting the difficulty of breaking the worn city walls in 3 days with their limited forces. One commander nervously suggested retreating south to wait for reinforcements from the Grand Duke's army before attacking. Rain remained calm as he studied the map, confident that the island would fall in 3 days. His main concern was the approaching army. He asked Leah about the firewood and hay, and she confirmed everything was ready. She had also found a nearby lake, as he requested. Rain nodded at Selena's report and instructed her to have the mages use ice magic to freeze the lake, lowering its temperature to 0 degrees Celsius. When Selena questioned if this would break the island's walls, Rain confidently assured her they wouldn't last more than 3 days. The next morning, Rain led his troops to the city gates, directing them to move dry firewood and hay closer to the walls. In response, Eldry ordered his men to fire arrows, but the enemy's barriers made the attack ineffective. Confused by Rain's choice to bring firewood instead of siege weapons, Eldry questioned his strategy. Eldry's confusion grew as the soldiers dropped their firewood and hay at the wall's base and retreated. He turned to a nearby soldier, who, equally puzzled, suggested that the enemy might intend to set the walls on fire. Angrily, Eldry slapped the soldier and dismissed the idea as foolish, insisting it was impossible to set stone. Before Eldry could respond, a soldier shouted that the fire was spreading along the walls. Eldry looked down and saw the flames growing rapidly. He dismissed it as sheer idiocy, convinced that trying to burn stone was a foolish attempt. A nearby soldier suggested ordering the mages to extinguish the fire or to shoot the soldiers. Eldry dismissed the idea, asserting the mages from the Vice Empire were only for critical situations and that their magic wouldn't be wasted on something trivial. He ordered no arrows to be used unnecessarily, allowing Rain and his men. Confident of victory, Eldry believed he would crush Rain's arrogance in 3 days. For 2 days, Rein's army burned the city walls, bolstering Eldry's confidence and leading him to return to his mansion to celebrate. Time passed quickly, and while Eldry reveled in victory, a panicked subordinate rushed in to report that the enemy had stopped burning the walls. Still confident, Eldry laughed, believing Rain's forces had run out of firewood and were about to surrender. He called his nobles to witness Rain's humiliation. The nobles, confident after 2 days of burning, believed the walls were too hot to approach, making an attack impossible. At the battlefield, Eldry stood atop the walls of the island, mocking Rain's army. He taunted Rain, believing he had finally extinguished his resolve. But Rain remained grim, his deep voice carrying a final offer to Eldry and the nobles: surrender or face death. Eldry, undeterred, laughed and reminded Rain of their wager. If the city wasn't braked by sundown, Rain would admit defeat. The nobles echoed his threats, cautioning Rain against breaking his promise. Rain ordered Selena to act immediately. Suddenly, a figure emerged in the sky. Hovering with hands raised, she gathered her power, distorting the space around her as lightning cracked and thunder rumbled. With a fierce cry, she unleashed a devastating attack, raw magic surging across the battlefield. A colossal lightning bolt surged toward the city walls, prompting Eldry to command the mages to deploy a defensive barrier. Countless mages chanted in unison, forming an impenetrable shield around Eldry and the nobles. Surprisingly, the lightning struck the city wall instead of them, stunning the soldiers. Eldry, initially confused, burst into laughter, finding Selena from the Mages Association amusing rather than terrifying, but his laughter quickly faded. The sky darkened with swirling black storm clouds, thunder rumbling, and rain pouring down. While Eldry struggled to comprehend the scene, Rein issued his next command. His army charged forward, not with weapons, but with buckets brimming with ice water, heading straight for the city walls. After her attack, Selena felt drained from using too much mana. As she staggered, Rain caught her and thanked her for unexpectedly changing the weather, realizing they could manage future droughts. Despite her exhaustion, Selena remained anxious and asked if he truly believed his plan would work. Rain noticed the uncertainty in her eyes and took her hand, urging her to trust him. Watching the battle intently, Leah screamed in terror, grabbing Rain's attention. The soldiers had reached the fortress walls, and the raging flames were quickly extinguished by pouring rain and ice-cold water. As the frigid water met the scorching stone, thick clouds of steam billowed upward with an eerie hissing sound. Tiny cracks appeared on the fortress walls, rapidly spreading into large fissures. The sharp cracking sounds increased, signaling impending disaster. Eldry paled, wondering why the wall was succumbing when it was meant to withstand immense magic. The gathered nobles were terrified, some questioning the ominous noise while others refused to believe what was happening. Rain ordered the wall to be broken and had everyone arrested. He made it clear if anyone resisted, they were to be killed on the spot. His troops then stormed the city. Meanwhile, Selena was lost in thought, amazed at how easily Rain had accomplished something that even she struggled with at full strength. Just then, Rain told her to go home. In the pouring rain, Eldry sat on the ground, struggling to accept that Rain was this capable. Realizing he had to leave now before the army arrived, he got up to escape. But before he could, the remaining nobles appeared, blocking his path. "Where do you think you're going?" one of them asked. "We're not ready to die just yet.